it's Mary with Happy Pine Soap. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do two gorgeous designs, another two planets to add to my planet collection. We're going to do Saturn and Neptune. So these both are made with the beautiful kiss pour technique. This technique requires an extremely fluid batter that stays fluid for an extended period of time. It's a very challenging technique for that reason. These two I attempted. These are actual attempts for the December Soap Challenge Club that I will be entering for this month. They did not make the cut because the batter got too thick on me, but nonetheless, they're still beautiful designs. The actual kiss pour technique the design that I will be entering for the Soap Challenge Club, I actually managed to successfully do today. Trace was perfect, no acceleration, gorgeous fluid design. That video will be available next week. So that soap is currently oven processing as we speak, but these designs were from last week. And so with the Soap Challenge Club and the entries, a lot of times you have to kind of practice a few times before you get the perfect soap for your entry. So that design will be available next week. And these two are still nonetheless very beautiful. I love how Kiss Pour makes like organic, almost like artistic designs that are very different and unique. And these two remind me of the other planets. So they're gonna add to my planet collection, and I hope you enjoy my video. And I will put the actual recipe I used for today's recipes, I'll put it down below in the description. So feel free to look for that, and let's get started. I hope you enjoy.
All right, our fragrance is from Brambleberry, Pineapple Kiwi. It's not supposed to accelerate. We have Steelworks, Bermuda Triangle, Mango Lassie, Pumpkinhead, and a combination of red iron oxide and spicy tomato for our colors, all from Mad Micas. As you see, I have them pre-mixed here with a little bit of sweet almond oil, and they're ready to go for when the soap is ready to pour. I started with my oils at about 101 degrees, and my lye solution was a little bit lower than that at around 96 degrees. After carefully adding your lye in, you will make sure to burp your stick blender to reduce any air being added to the recipe, and I went ahead and stick blended this recipe for 12 seconds. My fragrance has been previously weighed out, and that 5 to 6% range that is safe for this particular amount of soap. And I gently stirred it in again with a spatula to reduce air as well as not to increase acceleration. You don't want to overstick blend a recipe. It will increase acceleration. And I carefully weighed out 4 different colors at 7 ounces. And then the main batch of black or the steel works will be at 14 ounces. As you start adding your micas, you will you're not using that stick blender, you're just going to use your spatula to carefully and gently fold the colors into the batter. Again, we're trying to not cause any extra acceleration or speed the trace up. Go ahead and add all your colored micas to the 7 ounces of soap batter in the remaining pour containers, and then you're ready to start pouring into one additional pour container that's empty. You're going to layer your colors. I counted for 7 as I poured each color. I started with the black, then the Pumpkinhead, and then Bermuda Triangle, went back to black, or the Steelworks, Pumpkinhead, Bermuda Triangle, and repeated that pattern essentially until the Bermuda Triangle and Pumpkinhead were completely empty. And again, pouring for about 7 seconds is what I did here for each color. This is sped up. I did the exact same process for the remaining colors. That's your Mango Lassie, that beautiful yellow color, and the red iron oxide and the spicy tomato. So I'm going to layer them in the exact same fashion I just did for the prior colors. And again, 7 seconds, and you just pour until your red and your yellow is completely used up. So this is where you start your kiss pour. You'll take your 2 pour containers and you will gently almost touch them in the middle. I like to put one just slightly above the other, and you will pour in unison, and that is what makes the beautiful organic shapes and stripes in the kiss pour design. As you see, unfortunately my batter is too thick, so it's not going to be as beautiful and feathery and thin stripies as it should be. So that video, as I mentioned, will be released next week, the one that I actually managed to get it to behave itself. I like to shake my mold on the counter gently, and that's again to release any trapped air bubbles and to flatten out the soap in the mold as well. And this was a technique we were taught in the tutorial, to just carefully take a small thin tool here. This one's from Brambleberry. I think it's called the cleanup tool. And you just gently swirl the middle there. And again, you're not trying to disturb the lower layers. It just stays on the top. And now you see me basically cutting the slab into half. And then what I did is I cut just about 1/8 of an inch, or maybe it was 1/4 of an inch off the top. And that was to try and show you how that gorgeous kiss pour design that is hiding right underneath the surface. So this is what half the slab looks like, with about 1/4 inch off the top. And I did the exact same to the other half of the slab as well. This is a wonderful cutting tool, by the way. It's the Caterpillar cutting station, and makes cutting molds like this so much easier. I went ahead and cut the soap into approximately 2-inch bars, and I went ahead and beveled them as well. And you'll get to see the finished bars here in just a moment. I'll give you a nice little preview or an overview of all of them. You can see the lovely striations here. It really does look stripy, and I love the color scheme again. That's why I dubbed this one Saturn. It reminds me of that gorgeous planet. And here they are beveled and all cleaned up, and they look so pretty, but they were too thin. Like the weight wasn't 3 ounces. And for the Soap Challenge Club, the soaps had to be 3 ounces. So this one, again, did not get entered. And also because I wanted to try to do better with the trace. So I kept going, and you'll see that in Neptune coming up here, how that trace also misbehaved. And so that's why I ended up trying it for a 3rd time today. And finally it behaved itself. So it'll be interesting to see the cut on today's soap as opposed to these two here, to see how gorgeous, hopefully feathery, very thin, stripy, beautiful kiss pour design. Hopefully I will reveal that today when I cut my the one that I'll be putting in for the challenge. Try number 2 happened on the same day as Saturn, and this one I named Neptune. I used Snow White, Ectoplasm, Daydream, and Heliotrope, all from Mad Micas. And as you see, I have them measured and mixed here with a little bit of sweet almond oil. And our fragrance was hand or fresh picked strawberry from Crafter's Choice, which was not supposed to accelerate and was supposed to behave itself. Again, I question whether these fragrance, both of them actually, that I use for Saturn and for Neptune, I think they did accelerate a little bit. But I also think there was a few other reasons that my batter did not behave itself, and I will talk about that next week. Both the oil and the lye solutions were about 95 degrees or a little bit less, and I stick blended Neptune for about 18 seconds this time. The batter seemed to be, at least at first, a little more fluid than Saturn's, but that did not last for very long. In went my fragrance, and again stirring by hand to try to prevent any additional acceleration. I added my colors in much the same way as the first one, where the colors were about 7 ounces of soap batter, and then the white was the remainder from the main batch, about 14 or so ounces. At this point, I thought the batter was behaving itself quite nicely. It was nice and fluid. The trace seemed to be very light trace. When I pulled up the spatula, it appeared to be barely holding any tension on the surface, barely leaving any type of trace. So I really thought this trace would be the winner and it would work really well. But it did not. It got even thicker than Saturn's, unfortunately. So you'll see me layering it in much the same way as Saturn's. So I went ahead and sped this part of the video up. But yeah, it's basically layered the same way. So here's where I start the kiss pour, and again, carefully keeping one slightly above the other, one container. But as you see, look how thick that soap is. Before I even get pouring, it quickly started to get to kind of like pudding-like texture, and the only thing I can account for that is the fragrance. So this fragrance, when you see thickening up that rapidly, my experience has been it's always the darn fragrance. So this would not be, even though it was not supposed to accelerate, lies. How many times have I seen a fragrance that is listed as not supposed to accelerate and it clearly does? So yep, we got pudding-like texture, and there goes the kiss pour out the window. We're not going to get a nice feathery look with this one. This one will look even more, I guess, gloppy maybe, you know, would be the word I would say in the finished product. I mean, it's not ugly, but it's not kiss pour. It's not that fine, wispy, feathery design that kiss pour is supposed to be. So yeah, you'll see the cut here in just a moment and see what I mean. So here I'm splitting the slab into half with that wonderful Caterpillar soap cutting station. I forgot to show the cut on Saturn, so at least you get to see how it was done here. And just like Saturn, I'm going to cut off the top and the bottom of the soap to show the design better. And when I start doing that, I essentially lower the cutting wire to approximately where it cuts about 1/4 inch of the top of the soap off. And that really at least removes kind of the ugly part, and you can actually see some pretty design beneath the surface. You can see Neptune is a lot more like blob-like colors, like big blotches of color, as opposed to thin striations. So yeah, that's because that trace, again, was way too thick. But, you know, it's still kind of a cool marbled appearance, and it's very organic in terms of all the different colors in different places, and the pattern is never the same anywhere. So yeah, still, you know, I still think it's kind of cool. I like art in general, and soaping definitely reminds me of art in terms of you kind of never know what they'll look like until you cut them. So here is where I'm cutting off the back side, and this time I switched to my single wire cutter. It's a little bit easier to do the small bars of soap. And again, I'm going to cut off approximately 1/4 inch. And here you can actually see some of the striations from the kiss pour. It did successfully occur in some of the bars at the bottom, and that's because the trace was thinner with my first pour. You know, the batter that hit the slab mold first was still a little bit thinner. The last part got really gloopy. So some striations successfully got in there, but unfortunately, not very many. So here are all the bars cleaned up and again beveled, and I'll show you what each one of them looks like, both top and bottom. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You know, I do believe it's important to teach also when things go wrong or don't go quite as expected. Not only does it normalize this, you know, for newbies and people who are just starting out, but it happens even to experienced soapers, and we all learn from our mistakes, actually. That's kind of how we perfect our designs and our recipes and figure out exactly how the soap is going to turn out. You know, it's both art and science for sure. So I really hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Again, look to next week for me to release the actual correct kiss pour in terms of acceleration and trace and the beautiful thin striations. That was successful today, finally. So I'll be releasing that video next week. And again, I appreciate all of your guys' support. It means a lot to me. It helps my channel grow. And I'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.